Hello, Mizz Mag TV.
And what was your most awkward moment as a teen?
Most awkward moment as a teen? I think probably the most awkward, I remember there was an off-Broadway show that I was on, and I was playing the Artful Dodger in Oliver, and for my bows, I ran off to run up my bows, and I got my foot caught on something, and I slipped and fell and slided all the way out on stage, and I kind of had to play it off like if that was part of the show. But I was so embarrassed, and everybody came back. They was like, "That was such a good idea what you did," that they tried to incorporate it in the show. And 50 bruised knees later, I was doing it.
And growing up, every teen has like a strop or like worries about things. And what's the biggest like tantrum that you ever pulled that you remember?
The biggest tantrum, the only tantrum I ever had probably was usually when things don't go well for me, I get upset with myself. So I was probably mad at myself for the most part. But usually me and my brothers, you know, when we were younger and playing music, there'd be occasional things we get in fights about. Things go wrong on stage, you're mad at each other, you blame it on each other. And it's like, it wasn't me, it was you. So it's just growing up.
Can you remember your first kiss as a teen?
First kiss, yeah, it was on a bowling alley.
Bowling alley.
And people actually cheered. That was pretty hilarious.
Did you give it any marks out of 10?
Oh. I think at the time I thought it was a 10.
And what's the packed lunch that reminds you of school?
Lunchables. Just everything in one, that little like snack pack. Absolutely the best.
And did you have a curfew when you were a teen?
Yeah, I remember when it was school time, I mean, I would have a curfew like 10. My parents were pretty lenient, but as I got older, I think they just kind of, my parents have 4 boys, so I was the second born, so by the time they're the third, I think they just were like, all right, whatever. I guess, you know, just show up to school.
Anti-bullying week's coming up over here. Do you have any tips or advice for any of our readers that are getting bullied or know someone that's being bullied?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a very easy thing to bully without even realizing. You know, we live in a day and age where there's Twitter, there's Facebook and whatnot, so it's so easy to say hurtful things over the internet, and those things live there, you know, and you may not think that the person's reading it, but a lot of the time they are. So it's just about being cautious of what you're saying and what you're doing, because it's so easy to kind of affect people in that way.
What were your best excuses for handing in your homework late?
What did you say?
Your best excuses for handing in your homework late?
Best excuses? I would say my best excuses was probably,
Dog
you know,
ate your homework.
I definitely said dog ate my homework once or twice, but I think probably the best one was, I remember like trying to, my locker, I opened up my locker while while the class was going on, people were doing the test. I said I had to go grab something from my bag, and my teacher caught me as I'm trying to do last minute work stuck in my locker.
Would you say that you were an A-class student or a bit of a
A-class
slacker?
student? There's certain subjects. Math was not my strong subject, but everything else I think I was pretty alright in.
And what would you do differently if you could go back to being a teen now?
If I could do anything anything differently, I probably would, you know, I would probably do a few hairstyles. I had quite a few growing up. Hey Mizz Mag, I'm Rupert Grint.
What was your most awkward moment as a teen?
Most awkward moment? I don't know. It's quite a few. I'm quite an awkward person in general, so it's kind of quite a regular thing. But I'm into quite an awkward. The thing about when we were kind of filming is it's kind of all on film, all our kind of awkward stages. There's one moment I had a lot of hair. It's kind of a bit embarrassing.
And did you deal with like bad spots or skins or anything, or skin when you were younger? And like, if so, how did you deal with it? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all kind of caked in makeup from such a young age, and like, I was a bit lazy and didn't really wash off that often. So yeah, but yeah, I never really suffered too badly.
Anti-bullying week is coming up. What advice would you give to any of our readers that know someone who's getting bullied or being bullied themselves?
Being ginger, it's you're quite a target for that, and experience a bit of that at school and stuff. And, yeah, it's horrible. Kids can be quite cruel, but yeah, just kind of tell someone. Don't kind of keep it to yourself.